Greetings, everybody. We just hit the play button here. Thanks for joining in. A couple of housekeeping items. We'll take a minute or so before everybody gets on. I have some particularly good news, or at least seemingly good news. Not just that we're here with Nico, but I've live on the Hudson River in New York City, and as you know, many of you are here as well. The Mercy ship was brought up to potentially house coronavirus patients, and it was ceremoniously brought into the dock that was right outside my window by the Intrepid, and it was kind of a glorious event, and we just saw it today leave. So I don't know if that's an indication of things that we don't know or know, but I think it's a good sign. So I'm not saying I know anything more than anybody else, but I just wanted to share that with everybody. Now that we've got a good portion of the people in, welcome and thank you for spending your afternoon with us here. I think most of you are in Eastern time. If not, welcome anyway. I have to blame this all on John Harrington once again. My good, kind friend for many years has introduced me to Urbix and Nico, and I've had the joy and delight of learning about what's going on, and now the pleasure of having this webinar for you folks. You're in for a treat because there's not only a investor pitch, there's a little bit of a tour that you're going to enjoy. A couple of housekeeping things just to for the moment. If someone wouldn't mind just pinging me on the chat box or something, just so we acknowledge that we're broadcasting okay, because we don't know for sure. Seemingly we are. So if somebody wouldn't mind raising their hand in the Q&A box, which you can, thank you very much. You also use that to ask questions throughout, and we'll try to answer them. And then the chat box here live, I'll send you a note in a minute. You can use to ask questions throughout, and we'll get to them in due course. So again, thank you for being here. You guys have been super supportive during this hard time. I say this all the time, but we're in a position where we can help others here personally and otherwise. So if you need anything, just let us know. We'll do our very, very, very best. And with that, please welcome Nico.
Yeah, Artur, thank you very much for that kind introduction. And John Harrington, thank you for being the vector to connect to Arthur. This is truly a pleasure. First of all, I wish everybody staying healthy during this extremely challenging times for especially people in the East Coast. I am fortunate enough to live in a location where the virus hasn't been as destructive as it has in the East Coast. I'm in Arizona, so I do have family there, and it's pretty deteriorating what I've seen, and they've talked about because they're also in the medical sector. So anyway, I really appreciate your time for this, and I'm gonna go ahead and start our presentation. Urbix started in 2014 with the idea of refining critical minerals, utilizing eco-friendly and innovative manners that also were lower cost than the alternatives, to actually serve the refractory energy storage, composites industries. We saw that the US was 100% dependent on foreign sources of these critical minerals, and all of the methods that were utilized to process these minerals were not only being implemented in China or in Europe or in other places that were not inside the United States, but also had a significant carbon footprint. Not only that, the costs were just extremely high. So we initiated this journey in 2014. My story is I am Mexican, born and raised in Mexico, moved to the United States in 2000, went to high school in Tucson, Arizona. I then attended the University of Arizona, and I also went to Technische Universität in München for 1 year in Munich. And then came back, worked for an engineering firm for 5 years, and then we put together this amazing dream. It's been 6 years, and I can comfortably say that we're the only ones in the world doing this at the scale that we're doing it. So I will follow my presentation by a virtual tour, and you get to meet the team and everybody. So Urbix, these are our principles, if you want to say, and our focuses that we rely on in the company. Toyota visited us on March 2nd. They flew in from Japan. And when they saw what we were implementing in such a young age for a company, they were thrilled to see that we were not going to have to learn all the processes that they like their suppliers to have when we eventually become their suppliers. So, quick fast facts. If you read the information that Arthur posted in the invitation, you saw graphite. The reality is that people still think that graphite is only utilized in pencils. Well, let me just share a couple of fast facts. 22% of every lithium-ion battery that you see out there in an electric vehicle, 22% is a very expensive refined form of graphite. So it is the largest component by volume inside a lithium-ion battery, graphite, period. It's not lithium, not nickel, not cobalt. It's graphite. Another big thing that people don't realize is that we like our energy, and 20% of that energy that we like consuming comes from nuclear reactors. And guess what? Those nuclear reactors require purified graphite. Sometimes it's synthetic. Now more and more, and so they're actually working with a blend of natural and synthetic graphite. So the other sad story is that the US imports 100% of that graphite. 95% of it is being purified and processed in China. You're going to hear the word China a lot in this presentation. This is not an anti-China campaign. This is simply stating the facts that the US is very vulnerable and beholden to China as it relates to critical mineral manufacturing capabilities. All right. There is at least 8 gigafactories coming in online by the mid-2020s in the United States that all right now are expecting to get their graphite from China. That is also very, very alarming. As such, in 2017, President Trump signed an executive order denominating or assigning the word critical to all minerals that have a significant impact in our national and economic security, and we're mostly foreign dependent on. One of them is graphite. So where does graphite go inside a battery? Well, I hope everybody's seeing the screen and you can see my scroller. Arthur, can you see my scroller here?
Yes, you're all set.
Okay, perfect. All right, so plus battery, everybody knows there's a plus and a minus and a bunch of goo in between. So the plus usually is your lithium and the other cathode components, and then your negative side is where the graphite goes. This is just the picture of what the actual supply chain for lithium-ion battery looks like, all right? And it really depicts a very sad story. Stage 1 of the actual supply chain is the extraction and the mining of the graphite. This can come from China, this can come from friendly allies like Brazil, like Canada, Mozambique, Madagascar, Norway, Vietnam, etc., etc., etc. However, 0% is mined in the United States. Let's go to the processing and refining part. 0% of the United States. And guys, this is not just the graphite. Graphite is pertinent to my sector, to what we are doing to our technology. But look at the tail here. Nickel, cobalt. All of these are critical to actually making batteries. And look at the percentages. I mean, it's very obvious. Stage 3, the cathode and the anode. The negative part, cathode is a positive side, anode is the negative part of a battery. So anode production, 0% in the US. Okay, and then you take it to the cell manufacturing. Yeah, there are some gigafactories being built here. Tesla has one. They have a JV with Panasonic and things like that. So where does Urbix fit in here? Urbix takes care of this 0% here of graphite and this 0% here. So this is a lot of write-up. As I explained, you can probably take a look at it. But Urbix is the only U.S. company utilizing an American-made green, lower cost than the next alternative solution for purification and processing of graphite. What you're going to see here in this pilot facility is the largest green processing graphite facility in the world, and we're only at pilot scale, guys. Everybody uses extremely detrimental methods to actually purify the graphite, as I will continue and inform you in the presentation. Our pilot purification facility was completed in January 2020, and without any optimization or commissioning, we were able to achieve purities of 99.5%. In processing plants around the world, copper, gold, when you build a factory or a plant and a mineral processing plant, you go through a process called commissioning and optimization. Usually takes 6 months so that you can get your copper or your gold or whatever mineral you're processing to the actual desired level of purity. Sometimes it takes a month, sometimes it takes 2, sometimes it takes 6. Guys, this is a brand new technology. We put in a pilot facility without any optimization and commissioning. We were able to achieve 99.5% purity. That is a huge milestone. We're positioning ourselves to become the only environmentally friendly American-based technology to produce anodes and purify graphite for other products here in the United States. We are targeting to serve the 8 gigafactories that I mentioned are going to be coming in online by 2020. That alone can represent a $1.5 billion market domestically. Urbix's purification technology will also be utilized for rare earth elements, gold, copper, and recycled graphite, utilizing the idea of low cost and environmentally friendly processing. So the same stories for rare earth elements. People heard of rare earth elements. What they do is they mine them here in the US, but the majority of the processing happens in China. So a lot of the time, you extract the rare earths here and you send it to China, and then you bring them back here. Assuming that we have 30%, not assuming, when we have 30% of the US market of anode for batteries, by the mid-2020s, that would represent a $300 million revenue opportunity with a 25% pre-tax. I would be happy to share this deck to anybody after this presentation. What is graphite? It is a critical mineral. Where is graphite utilized besides pencils and batteries? Steel refractory, lubricants, automotive parts, coatings and inks, paints, biomedical devices, brakes, lightweight composites, water treatment, smart materials, and IoT-enabled devices. So graphite is utilized in plenty of things that you would never think is utilized in. And they all require an enhanced or purified version of graphite. So even if we don't focus on the battery anode market, we still have access to a $5 billion market, which is your basic graphite market that includes refractory, lubricants, paints, composites, inks, and things of that sort. Here's a history lesson, guys. This happened in 2010, and Toyota was here, and they told us how much it blew when this happened. So in 2010, this orange columns here are representative of what you call an AB5 cathode, okay? This cathode was utilized in hybrid electric vehicles by Toyota, Honda, and companies of that sort. Well, all of the rare earth, this is a rare earth element-based cathode, okay? All of this, rare earth element-based anode, sorry. All of this was being utilized, all the rare earth elements were being imported from China to be utilized in this anode for the electric vehicles that they were making in Toyota. So 100% dependency, 100%. In 2009, 2010, China and Japan entered into a trade dispute. So China decided to cut off all of the supply of rare earth elements to Japan. So Toyota sat on their ass for 8 months, not being able to do much. because they didn't have access to this anode. So
Yeah, I think we lost you, Nico. Hang on, guys. Hang on there. Let's see if we can get him back.
I think, guys, did it cut off? Can
Yeah,
you guys hear me?
yeah, you're back.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened.
That's
That's
okay,
so.
you're back.
Alrighty.
Rosario, if you're still there, the answer is yes. Yeah, you lost the connection somehow. I don't know whether it was me, you, but I was still here. So
Okay,
let's
can
just
you guys hear me
where
now?
we left off.
I'm sorry.
Okay, it's not your fault.
All right, so going back to this slide here. Well, this tells another pretty sad story. Can you guys see it? Just confirming.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. What it shows here is the actual production of anode worldwide, all right? So dark blue represents China, light blue Japan, and gold is South Korea. 2019, 77% of the anode manufactured in the world was made in China. And the other 23 was a mixture of Japan and Korea. However, Japan and Korea consume a lot of it internally. So what that 77% actually represents, almost a 100% that gets supplied to the rest of the world. The geopolitics of global dependency and refining bottleneck are actually playing a lot in our favor, and actually have promoted in a way the Department of Energy want to give us a grant that we have already, and actually getting to extremely advanced conversations with them to actually initiate a potential collaboration for energy storage. So China currently dominates the global supply, period. There's two other methods of purifying graphite. One of them is high temperature ovens, which are mainly utilized in the Western world, which in essence are put a bunch of chlorine gas, put the graphite inside a high temperature oven, take it up to 3,000 degrees Celsius, and burn everything except the graphite. Well, that's extremely expensive and it consumes a lot of electricity, so that technically is not economically viable way of making purified graphite for anode purposes, right? The other one is hydrofluoric acid. Hydrofluoric acid is an extremely detrimental acid, and what they do in China is they dig holes on the ground, okay? They dump the actual graphite, they put a bunch of acid there, and they let it sit there for, a couple of days, 6 days or something like that. And then after that, they remove the mineral, and sometimes the leaching pools are left there. And what happens, hydrofluoric acid evaporates, goes to the ecosystem, comes down as rain, and pollutes all of the water supply and water streams. So that's very, very dangerous, and it just creates very, very hazardous conditions. That method wouldn't even fly in the United States. The only way it would fly is to actually have all the containment procedures in place, which are extremely expensive, that would make, again, purifying graphite very expensive, in that way, very expensive. So the third solution is the Urbix method, which is we don't use hydrofluoric acid, we don't use high temperature ovens, we use a mechanochemical way in which we use 7% acid that is not actually a hydrofluoric acid, and we use high pressure vessels. All right. We commissioned the University of Arizona to actually develop this for us, and we have the exclusive license perpetually from the university because we obviously pay them to develop that technology, and they gave it to us. Now, the guy who developed the technology at the university, he is now our CTO. Another component of how geopolitics play in our favor is top automakers now are looking into eco-friendly and the provenance of the way that the raw materials are extracted. So eco-friendly processing and the provenance of the raw materials. Why are they paying more attention to that? Well, huge lawsuits for the socioeconomic impact that it had on the cobalt extraction in the Congo, where they had children extracting cobalt out of mines. I think that was a huge situation about 4 or 5 years ago. And then the manner in which actual raw materials are being processed, you can see the living conditions in those factories or the vicinity in those factories. So with governments pushing for zero emissions, one, and then automakers having to look at reducing the overall CO2 carbon footprint of their electric vehicles, those things are starting to align with what Urbix brings to the table. Not to mention also the fact that the US imports 100% of its graphite. We are the solution. We utilize 1/25 of the energy of high temperature ovens, about 1/100th of the space of the leaching pools. We're the only natural graphite purification technology that has a grant by the US government, okay, to actually develop a nuclear grade graphite feedstock to mitigate foreign dependency. So we are the lowest capex around. We do not use hydrofluoric acid. And then further revenue expansion is included and available when we're purifying rare earth elements, recycling graphite from all batteries, battery anode graphite that we're making in nuclear grade graphite applications. Here's just a illustration of how we compare to the next best alternatives. The Chinese method, it costs about $600 a metric ton with no containment to purify. Our costs, when fully recyclable, we're looking around 200. So we're significantly lower cost than China. I mean, I'll post a question to you guys that you don't have, obviously you can't answer, I don't think right now, but when have you seen a technology nowadays actually be cheaper and more innovative than, well, more innovative, that's easy, but cheaper than the actual Chinese alternatives? Our temperature is 80 degrees Celsius versus 2800. Our batch time is 30 minutes versus 5 to 8 days, 5 to 7 days. Well, Nico, if the US imports 100% of its graphite, where the hell are you going to get the graphite? Well, there's a lot of friendly countries, right, that we're collaborating with. Disregard the Russia and China. We actually utilize their graphite to benchmark our capacity with their material. India, Australia, Madagascar, Mozambique, Germany, Norway, Canada, Brazil, Vietnam. All of those are countries that we've already worked with mines there and have successfully purified their graphite. Well, Nico, I Googled anode graphite, and guess what? I found about silicon and solid state technology. Well, today I was in a forum put in by Benchmark Minerals Intelligence. You can Google Benchmark Minerals Intelligence. And it's the first time I've heard them publicly say that solid state technology is not going to come into commercial adoption until late 2030s. So there's a lot of runway for graphite. Oh, Nico, I heard about silicon anode. What's up with that is the next big thing. Well, even with that, all right, Benchmark Minerals Intelligence and other data analytical companies do not estimate any of those new technologies having a significant impact on the lithium-ion battery anode space, such that graphite is still expected to have 80% of the market by 2040. Why is that? Well, I'll give you an example. Lithium-ion batteries were invented in 1971, right? The first commercial adoption was by Sony in 1991. And then people started hearing about lithium-ion batteries and how dangerous they were when planes started catching fire, like the Anna Dreamliner in the 2010s about. And it wasn't until now that, you know, with this big electrification boom that's happening worldwide, that people are starting to say, oh, lithium-ion batteries, all right? So look at the decades it took for actual getting the commercial adoption. I'll give you an example. Nico, cathodes. Tell me about cathodes. You know, they're continuously evolving. The NMC cathode was actually invented by Argonne National Lab in 2001, and it came into, I think, the first commercial production in 2011, and it hasn't been actually adopted at full scale until in the past 2-3 years, from 2 to 3 years ago. So the adoption of any new technology in this space is very, very long. And guess what? We already have in our pipeline innovation on anode blends with graphite and silicon. So we're already innovating there. But guys, let's go for the lowest hanging fruit right now, where there is actually a market. Yeah. What you can take out of this slide is a bit complicated, is the fact that graphite is and will continue to be the largest consumed mineral by volume on any lithium-ion battery application. So 2.7 million metric tons are estimated to be consumed by 2029 of anode. That's humongous.
Hey, Nico.
Go ahead.
Would you mind if we commented on a question from our friend Steve Burnham?
Absolutely, go ahead.
He asked about, what about lithium sulfur? I don't know what that means, but you probably do.
Lithium sulfur, I don't know if that would be for a CTO question, but lithium sulfur is, I don't know if it's a new technology or an old one. Hold on a second. You caught me off curve there. But there's nothing that we can't solve right now. Yeah, it'll take me like probably 30 seconds to answer that question. I'm calling my CTO. Anyway, so what I'll continue as he responds, as he did now. Hey, Palaj, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm in a Zoom call presenting to 20 people, the presentation, and I was speaking to the light of the solid state and silicon-based anodes, adoption. One of the individuals here just asked the question about lithium sulfur. Can you please explain a bit into lithium sulfur?
Yeah, so lithium sulfur, there are two basic issues. One is stabilizing the lithium itself. And on the chemistry side, lithium sulfur has constant issues with the electrolyte that gets circulated between anode and cathode. It decomposes much faster than our normal lithium-ion batteries.
Okay, so it decomposes much faster. It decomposes much faster because of the nature of the way the electrolyte is actually handled.
Yes, it's called a staircase problem.
Staircase problem.
There is a gradient from bottom to top of how much lithium-ion actually get transferred. But there are progress being made in both cases. And there are some interesting chemistry that has been developed last year, but they're still quite far from getting commercially adopted.
Yeah, and that's what I was explaining. I was explaining the actual timeline of adopting any new technology in this market is very long. And even if as new innovative ones come, we would actually have the strength and clout to innovate ourselves as well, right?
Yes, so the Eagle picture,
yeah,
they have a lithium sulfur battery, a very limited one that they use for space application.
For space, very limited use, okay.
Very limited use space application because lithium sulfur obviously provides higher capacity.
Yeah.
But those problem with decomposition goes down when the temperature is very low.
Okay, perfect. So it's just shorter lifetime. Okay, and lithium sulfur does not use graphite anodes, does it?
No.
It doesn't. Okay, yeah. All right, perfect. So I hope that answered the question. The reality is that it actually deteriorates the electrolyte extremely fast, and it might be viable for very high-end type of applications, however, with shorter lifetimes, right, Palaj?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, got it. Can you please stay on the line? Do you mind, or are you in another call?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
until another hour or so.
Thank you, Palash. Anyway, you see that he's always answering.
Good job. Thank you, Nico.
Yeah. Any technical question that is beyond my limits, like that one threw me completely off balance, but I'm glad Palash was here. Okay, so
we have one more question here. That's graphene is manufactured in the U.S. Can it be used instead of graphite?
Oh yeah, we've been the graphite route already, guys. And the reality is that one, it doesn't give the actual lifetime. The commercial scalability is the biggest part. Whoever tells you that graphene batteries are going to commercially scale, we did that, guys. We're not a public company, so we didn't have to sell ourselves or prostitute ourselves saying that that was going to be the next big thing. We just pivoted, all right? So we've been the graphene route, guys, and that's not going to be commercially scalable anytime soon.
That settles that.
Yeah. So, and in fact, you'll see on our third phase, maybe 7 years from now, you'll see graphene in our pitch as well. So, we're a private company. I have one mission. My mission is to make a lot of money for my investors and not try to, raise my stock price by, saying kind of like PR stunts. So, sorry if there's anyone here that's invested in a graphene public company, but we've been down to that route. Palash, do you have anything to add besides that?
Let's imagine a scenario that where graphene works as good as graphite. And currently, the demand in US for graphite anode is in the range of about 70 to 80,000 tons, and price of that anode is anywhere between $5,000 to $6,000, and that's going to increase to anywhere between 400,000 ton to or more come 2025 when all the gigafactories are coming online. So when that happens, imagine providing or competing a graphene anode material with graphite anode material. There is no significant difference in terms of the capacity, which is the key performance that you take into account when you buy anode or cathode material. There could be some advantages in terms of the conductivity and stability point of view, but capacity is not going to increase because it's the same material, carbon, which has fundamental limitations on capacity.
Got it.
So even if comes graphene, it's not being able to compete in the market.
Yeah. So yeah, that's another very valid point. Thank you, Palash, for that. In essence, the actual thousands and hundreds of thousands of tons in demand will make, because of the processing cost of graphene, are going to make it kind of obsolete in terms of a commercial application in this specific sector for now. So Oak Ridge National Lab, we have a call with them tomorrow, is to discuss the next phase of our nuclear CRADA, which is a collaborative research and development agreement that was funded by the Department of Energy, again, to mitigate foreign dependency and develop graphite feedstock for Next Gen IV reactors. So the step 2 of this funding is a $2 million proposition that we're filling or jointly applying for Oak Ridge National Lab and Urbix, so that we can continue doing that work for them to become right now, we're the only American-based company that has a CRADA, so that we can actually start developing this feedstock. Other than that, the U.S. nuclear graphite market, both synthetic and with binders and all things like that, represents about $3 billion per year, just on fuel cells. We're now in the conversation with the DOE to become a battery-grade graphite producer to serve a $1.5 billion market. That is going to be available through a request for proposal put out by the Department of Energy. We are internally speaking to them so that the RFP, when it comes out, is in a way designed to address Urbix's specific capabilities. We have a congressional recognition already for our innovation. Our pilot purification facility, guys, there's 2 components to our business. One is purified. The next one is to actually make the anode. One, the purification. The purification is what we serve the basic industry: nuclear, composites, paints, coatings, refractory, okay? And that's where you're going to see pilot scale back there. So the idea for Urbix is to develop relationships or joint ventures, say 5 or 6 around the world, and set up these purification facilities to serve potentially the basic markets. I'll give you an example. We're talking to one of those large trading companies out of Japan. There's only like 8. Their name is Sojitz. The idea is that we actually put a facility in Vietnam to serve the 44,000 metric ton per annum market in Japan and South Korea, right? That's about $50 million worth of market, all right? It's not much, but it's a cash cow. The idea is for Urbix to put one of these joint ventures, set up a 50-50 type of arrangement with Sojitz, so they own 50% of the distribution of that business. We have the other 50, and then we charge that business a licensing fee for every for every ton processed. Okay, so under that business model, assuming we have 5 facilities running worldwide, producing 25,000 metric tons each, we could see $25 million in contributions to our bottom line from that business. The flagship purification facility that we're building here, once it's actually paired up with the anode capacity that we've created as well, we're looking by 2024, just from that sector alone, $120 million in revenue potential with margins of 25 to 28%. We project that for the actual anode business, because of the vetting time it takes, we're going to be supplying them in Q1 2022. The basic business, which is the United States refractory paints, coatings that they bring from China right now, we're going to start actually addressing that market right away, Q1 2021. All right, so we're raising the funding, guys, not to do R&D anymore, is to get the big facility built so we can be in revenue right away. Business model, I already spoke to this, is just serve the 99% plus market. We already achieved 99.5% plus on our pilot facility, so we already have access to a $5 billion global market for brakes, refractory paints, nuclear, composites, etc.
Nico, it might be a good time now, it's up to you, to talk about the types of companies that you have pilots with, that you've been sending samples to.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we go. It was the next page. So who are we talking to? For refractory Sojitz, for sending samples, refractory Sojitz samples, we initiated the first phase. We passed that first phase. Second phase of sampling is happening right now. You're going to start seeing some production when I take you in the tour. That's for refractory materials. We're talking to SGL Carbon, which is a huge carbon company. That is a boring type of business. The fun type of business of companies that are Tesla, Toyota, Volkswagen, that we're going to be sending out samples in June 2020. Of those 3 I mentioned, 2 of them are the largest automakers in the world. Okay, and they just actually sent me an agreement, an NDA agreement to sign with the joint venture that they have with Panasonic. So we're in a 3-way agreement to initiate this vetting as well. So Panasonic is part of the play now. These are the 8 gigafactories that are coming in online: Toyota, Tesla, SK Innovation, LG Chem has 2 of them, IM3, Ferrosis, and AESC. And in the essence of time, Arthur, I'm going to start speeding through this and so take you to a tour and answer any other questions. Right? This was actually created at the request of the Loan Program Office by the Department of Energy, which is the same program office that funded Tesla to take Tesla to the next level. What they wanted to see were the gross margins that we would be able to generate, assuming 50% of the U.S. market and an average price out of China. Okay. And that number there is $430 million for that one sector, for that amount of metric tons, right? So that's a pretty good number for one sector, for one product. So I'm going to go next, guys. Sorry. Graphene. People heard of graphene. And I'll go answer Gudrun's question in a bit. Graphene, what we're doing is we played around with it for about a year. Yes, we did a lot of cool stuff. One of them, we doped 1%. We utilized 1% of additive in a concrete mixture given to us by Horst Lafarge, and we were able to increase 300% of the compressive strength. We were able to actually track the structural health of the column and the beam. We were able to make it communicate, make it thermally conductive, de-ice, and all sorts of things. However, guys, the market is not ready for graphene right now. And we know that. And even when the market is ready, most of the companies will require a processed version of graphite, so they'll have to turn to us to get that graphite to make graphene. In terms of who in your team has any experience building facilities? Yeah, so I mentioned in my introduction that I worked at M3 Engineering. I traveled around the world building about multi-billion-dollar facilities in the Congo, Argentina, Canada, Mexico, mineral processing facilities, right? And when I left M3 Engineering, we engaged them to actually design and build and construct our facility here. At the same time, we also engaged with what I believe and a lot of people in the industry believe is the best graphite metallurgist worldwide. And he actually consults with SGS Lakefield in Canada through his own company called MetPro. The guy's name is Oliver Peters. All right, so we have him in the team. Not only we have the CTO and the inventor of the technology to tell us all the in and outs of what's happening in the reactor, but we actually are able to elevate his invention further to take it to commercial scale by the experience of the people that I just mentioned. Collaborators, Morgan Sojitz, Morgan Advanced Materials, SGL Carbon. These are some of the minds that we're working with in refractories. We have a 30 under 30 in Forbes in our co-founding team, a congressional recognition. TED Talk, we won the best business model award in the Clean Tech Open in Silicon Valley. University of Arizona Startup of the Year. Sorry, I'm just rushing through this. I don't want to take much of your time. Okay, so show me the numbers, Nico. All right, everybody seems to be a very intelligent investor here. I can give you numbers all day long, guys. The reality is that if you're an investor, you probably have never seen a pro forma that looks ugly. So what I challenge you is look at where the market's going, look at the demand of material, look at where Urbix is positioned versus anybody else in the industry, specifically in this country, and how we're positioned also to serve the needs of what the market is going to require, green, low cost, in the next 5-10 years. And I welcome any sort of challenges that you might see in the web, and I'd be happy to address those questions. So look at the unique position that we are in, the demands, our processing costs, okay? And then you can look at this pro forma, which is based only in serving two markets, the expandable graphite market and the anode market. The offer is pretty straightforward. $6.5 million we're raising. We've raised $2 million out of those, deposited and everything. We have another $1.5 million in commitments. It's offered through a private placement memorandum registered by the SEC, accredited investors only. We're issuing 344,000 units at $18 per unit. That gives a valuation of about $27 million. If we raise $4 million this round, we have access to a $2.5 million equipment leasing package offered by Farnham Street out of Minnesota. Here is what we're marking the money for. Okay. Guys, I'm going to be honest. Right now it's looking very good that we're going to apply for a pretty large grant called the Energy Storage Grant Challenge. We engaged a lobbying group out of Washington. It's looking very good, but what I've learned in my 6 years of pitching and fundraising is that the fat lady doesn't sing until the money is in the account. So yes, we will apply to this grant. If we do get the grant, well, I don't need to further dilute myself, but however, I don't want to stop and wait on the government to make a decision. If that money comes in, well, more power to everybody that invested in Urbix. Our valuation goes up significantly. And if you participate before that happens, and it even happens, well, more power to our entire Urbix family.
That's a grant, Nico, so it's non-dilutive.
Exactly. So we already have a grant. We're applying for another grant for the nuclear application for this phase 2, but we're also in parallel applying for the energy storage component of purified graphite. Keep in mind, it's one vertical is like a plum tree. It all requires purified graphite. So I'm not deviating myself, or doing a lot of different things. It's just one component, purified graphite. So, guys, that is the team. That is our. You're going to meet the team right now. But that's our company. I'm open to any questions. I can start the tour now. Is that okay?
Yeah, Nico, why don't you start the tour? And if anybody wants to posit a question. In the meantime, you can do it with Q&A or the chat. And
Great.
I'm going to go out into the shop. So
Yeah.
and
Palash.
thank you everybody for hanging with us there. I've seen this and
Thanks, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, sure.
You're muted. Yeah, you were muted.
you'll enjoy it.
Thank you. All right, guys. So here we go. Let me know, Arthur, if there's a problem with anything here. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yep, can hear you. Can see you walking. Totally cool.
All right. So I'll give you an idea of where we are and what it looks like. So this is sunny Arizona, and we hit 104 yesterday. But anyway, over there you're going to see a big field. That's where they make the Apache helicopters. This is Urbix right here. We have 30,000 square feet. Pending on the decision of the government to give us a grant, we're estimating that they'll want us to expand to the capacity of 30% of the U.S. actual market. So we would have to expand next door. We're already in the talks to that.
You might want to close the PowerPoint.
Huh?
You might want to close the PowerPoint. There you go.
Can you see me now better?
Yep.
Good. All righty. So that was our office. And here's part of our team, the operations team. I mean, they normally don't wear the masks unless you see this guy here, Sean, he's wearing that. And then that's our COO, Luis. And then Fernando in the back. Yeah. Luis also became an investor. We hired him as a consultant, and he said, "Oh, shit, your technology actually works. You just have a really bad operation structure." So he restructured the entire operation component of the company, and he invested in it. So he suffers of Stockholm syndrome now. So this stick is right here. Although they seem a bit childish, there's actually a science to it. And when Toyota was here the March 2nd, when they saw it, they're like, "Oh, Mr. Nico, you implement Toyota processing system." So yes, we do implement a lot of that components, and they were very happy to see that. We're eventually going to switch that to software. We just don't want to pay $30,000 right now to do it. So, and here's the goodies. This is our facility. Right now we're making the samples for Sojit's. That is Kurumi. She's an advanced material scientist, a senior development engineer here in the company. She's actually making the samples for our Japanese collaborators, in this case Toyota and VW right now. What I'm going to start with is I'm actually going to take you to show you how the actual graphite from mines comes in as, and how we actually take it to the processing. So this graphite here is coming from Vietnam. It comes in 1 metric ton bags, okay? And it comes around purities, typically it comes in purities between 94 to 97%. So the actual true added value of any purifier or processor of graphite is to take it from 94 to 99 plus, okay? So, and then what we do is we grab that graphite, and here's a slurry. We're just testing some methods here right now. That's Daniel, he's working with it, yeah. And this is what the pilot facility looks like, guys, all right? Fully automated, this facility would be able to get us to 20 metric tons per month, which it is, even though a pilot scale and small, it is the largest grain purification facility in the world, if you want to call it that. This little setup here that you see is running some of the samples right now. Our intent is taking this pre-pilot setup and actually start purifying rare earth elements in the next couple of months. All right. Why? Because we see there's going to be a humongous market opportunity, especially as it relates to defense and energy storage here in this country. You know, President Trump, what he did is, we all know that he increased the military budget, and we've had a couple of military contractors come and visit us for the sole purpose of developing that, so that we can actually purify and process rare earth elements. Hey, Devon, say hi to the people, man. Yeah, how you doing? He's got a mask on. So that's our pilot facility, guys, in a nutshell. And we're here in Arizona. And if anybody else is here who wants to come for a very nice and crispy, hot weather, you're always welcome to come and visit us.
Great, that was awesome. Once you settle down, Nico, we've got one question from my friend Steve again. Can you see it there?
I need to actually...
Here, I'll tell you what it is. It says, please talk a bit more about the capacity of the Canadian graphite mining sector.
That's a very tricky one. So there's one mine that is good. They're still implementing high temperature oven processing, and we're actually working with them because their product we believe is good. But their securitization for actually battery anodes, it's going to be the same low yield Chinese method. And that's called Nouvellement. Other companies that we're working with out of Canada, I'm not going to name because I don't like to bash on things like that, but the reality is, guys, you need to be extremely careful who is that you're looking at and who you're working with. One of the things that we do very well here is actually pre-processing. What we do is we actually characterize and classify the graphite, because not every flake graphite in the world is the same. And some of it, as bad as a public company wants it to be utilized in batteries, it doesn't matter. The quality is not good. The quality of that graphite is not going to be suitable for batteries, even after purified. So the crystallinity is key, and a lot of people don't have it. So that Nouvellement company does have it, and we really like their graphite. We've worked with others, and that's the only one I can come up with right now that actually has a significant good product that we've identified. I'll give you another example. There's a company in Mozambique that we're working with, Battery Minerals. They have they have two deposits. One deposit they share with another big company called Syrah, which we actually classified and characterized their material, and we didn't believe it was up to par to the standards that you need to actually be able to make anode. And that company has spent hundreds of millions of dollars, Syrah. But Battery Minerals has another deposit that actually has extremely good graphite, and that's the graphite that we utilized to do our betting with the Department of Energy for nuclear grade applications. So Brazil has really good graphite, as South Star Mining. MRC has very good graphite in Norway. Vietnam Graphite Group has good graphite, but their classification system is kind of low quality. So I'm sorry I took it a little bit further than I needed to, but I'd be happy to talk to you about if you want to buy any of those stocks. I'm not going to encourage you to buy. I'll just tell you what the truth is about their material and what markets they can address, and you can make a decision from that.
Great. Gudrun has two questions. One, what was the name of the mine in Canada, I think?
Oh yeah, Nouveau Monde, New World in French.
And then her second question is in your manufacturing process, is it patented?
No, we don't want to patent it. So what we've agreed, because we commissioned...
Or I'm sorry, I didn't give it the full breadth of the question. What do you do in the manufacturing process that is patented? And I just want to make sure I said it on behalf of Gudrun properly.
Yeah, so that's a very important question. What we do is our ketchup that we put in our reactor, that's our trade secret, kind of like the Coca-Cola recipe, right? So if we were to patent that, people would have public access, and next thing we know, China's going to be doing it. So what we did in conjunction with the University of Arizona, because we pay the University of Arizona to develop this technology, so they own it, but we have the exclusive license. So it's like kind of like a partnership, right? When we sat down and spoke about it, we made the decision that trade secret is the way to go. So if we were to implement this in Vietnam or whatever, we white label the actual reagents, and we actually have control of the operation. And if we see that anybody is, trying to be smart or something like that, we just cut off the reagents and we let that JV, unfortunately, sit still until everything's fixed. That's how we're keeping the trade secret. And then you cannot reverse engineer. Why? Because graphite processing is kind of like gold processing. You have this gold here, but you have no clue how it got purified because you cannot trace it back to the method it was purified. Same with purified graphite.
Another question. How are the reagents and what do they cost?
How rare are the
Sorry. Yeah.
They are reagents that you would never think would be able to be utilized in this sector, let alone in this industry. There, two of them are very clever reagents, and two of them are, rare reagents. And how expensive are they? They're not expensive. That's the beauty of this. And the fact is that they're recyclable, and the byproduct at commercial scale of, say, 3% of the production that we have, it's fertilizer.
So a little peek into the secret sauce, but he's not going to tell you.
Yeah, I can't, or else I get shanked.
Yeah. So,
we had this British guy, the one of the executives from Morgan Advanced Materials, come in, and he's seen us grow since we were in 2014, 2015 when he met us. And he's super dark humored, and he goes, Nico, with all his clever clip British accent, like they all have it, it's incredible. He comes to me and he said, hey, Nico. And it's like, your process, what I'm so thrilled about is that it's not complicated. It's very simple. It's extremely clever. And that cleverness is what makes it extremely difficult to figure out.
Yeah. Awesome. So I think we got Gudrun on a roll here. Can you see?
Go ahead. I'm double clicking on it. On scale from 1 to 5, whereas 5 is very high, how difficult is the manufacturing process? Well, it speaks for itself. It's a 30-minute batch. You have maybe right now the manufacturing processes of graphite itself. Sorry, Gudrun.
Yes.
If it's of graphite itself, then it's extremely easy for us.
And then she was asking whether you could manage a reagent shortage.
That's a very good question. That's part of the risk that we actually have as a theory of constraints, because actually, I don't know if you guys heard or read this book. I extremely recommend. I'm not publicly making it publishing it or whatever.
Endorsement.
I'm marketing it, but it's a book that we all have to read in this company, which is called Theory of Constraints. And it's such that you identify the constraint. In this case, the reactor will always be the constraint, the slowest part. So part of the inventories that we keep is the control of inventories. And thus far, Luis, which has experience in this, he's spoken about having always a large capacity of this. And this actually, we can get a lot of this out of Louisiana. So if there's a shortage, a lot of things can happen, but we don't see that happening.
Yeah, very cool. One more call for questions, and you guys have been awesome. Thank you for hanging in there and, of course, joining in. And he goes, that was really well done, and I don't have any reason, as you know, my friends in the Family Office Insights group, for rubbing him the right way. It was well done, and the tour was fun, and thank you. We will be connecting you directly with Nico, and he'll send you what you any additional information or answer any questions. And then Gudrun has one good last question, and she always has good ones. You see it there?
Yeah. What keeps me awake at night? Well, my baby that was just born like 8 months ago or something, a year ago, sorry.
That's a good answer.
Before it was funding, guys. I am the constraint to the company right now, because I need to get the funding so that we can start making revenue. In terms of technology, there's things that everything that has come up, we've been able to manage. It's been easy engineering fixes with the help of our experts. And the other thing is that little bug that always keeps me up is what is it that I don't know, Nico, that is going to pop out of nowhere, that is going to throw that curveball? And the unknown is what is the hardest and most worrying thing. Other than that, and we always searching for what unknowns are, and that would be a very honest answer. The unknown is what keeps me up, because I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Super cool. So listen, everybody, really, again, thank you very much for carving out this piece of your life. Really appreciate it. Like I said, we'll make sure everybody gets in touch with each other. We're going to be posting this video if you have anybody that wants to see the recording. And super good job, Nico. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. And anytime if you have questions about the market and it's not investment related, it doesn't matter. I'll be happy to take a call.
Awesome.